Greetings, good life. Now today, something a little different. I'm going to continue reading my Benevolent Magic blog, but you'll see that this one is different. It was originally published on Sunday, January 29th of 2006, and it's called Guest Column, Eileen Meyer. I am grateful to Eileen Meyer for contributing this heartfelt guest column. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have, and hopefully I can, or perhaps we can, encourage her to make a contribution here again sometime. I hope you enjoy it. Good life to you all, and good night. Feel Free to Talk It Out by Eileen Meyer. Remember that TV commercial a few hundred years ago? The one where the guy with the peanut butter collides with the woman eating a chocolate bar? Or was it the other way around? Anyway, what a monumental meeting that was. Well, that's how I feel about benevolent magic and living prayers. There I was, happily exploring the many joys and rewards of chocolate, when along comes Robert Shapiro with his magical peanut butter. Perhaps I should explain. Let's just say that in this metaphor, my chocolate bar is symbolizing a technique that I have quite unexpectedly developed as a way of returning to a state of peace, power, and clarity. This clarity is achieved through saying my feelings out loud. With that, we'll leave this candy metaphor behind due to the very real possibility that I may soon mix my metaphors, not as tasty, as we delve more deeply into the topic. Yes, I have developed a tool for living that helps me to know, without a doubt, what I am feeling. Very simply, I speak what I am feeling out loud. I developed this tool out of necessity. It took a series of actual therapy sessions for me to find out that I had a whole lot of feelings stuffed down into that deep, dark basement of my consciousness. Turns out they very much wanted to be seen and heard. Surprisingly, I found that I was one of those people that loved therapy. Wow, what a concept! Sharing your feelings. Of course, I had to pay someone to listen to me share my feelings, because who else would sit through the pitter-patter of my little feelings running up and down those basement stairs? That worked very well until my life went through some major shifts and changes, and I could no longer budget for what seemed like a psychological luxury. Although one day, out of a great need to talk it out, I just decided to pretend that my therapist was sitting across from me, listening to my feelings in that attentive and loving way of his. Success! I felt so much better. So I booked more and more of these home sessions. The nice thing about this was my therapist was always available when I was, and if necessary I could cancel or make last-minute scheduling changes without penalty. Of course, there were times I found it tough to find the personal space to just freely speak out loud, but I managed somehow. I carried on through quite a few of these make-believe sessions over the weeks and months. At times, there would be very loud and heavy traffic on those basement stairs. Other times, just a mild trickle of feelings. Either way, these feelings were regularly invited into the living room, where they were given a voice and an audience. A small audience, yes, but the most important audience for my feelings. One day, after almost a year of this talk-it-out self-therapy, I noticed there were none of the usual volunteer feelings showing up on the basement threshold. Just to be sure they weren't being evasive, I called down and heard only the echoey response of my own voice. Had all of my feelings been given voice? I pondered this for some time, and soon began to move about my days feeling better, lighter, freer, clearer, until one day I turned around and bumped into a feeling that was sitting right next to me on the sofa. I immediately gave it voice, and it was gone. No need for the feelings to hide out in the basement any more. Apparently word was out that they had a standing invitation or open mic in the living area of the house. Now another important aspect of this work should be shared. Things began to change in my life in a big way. Some of these changes were difficult, but overall I became easier on myself. Relationships got easier, work got easier, and most importantly, I became way more powerful. At this point, I don't want to frighten anyone away from the process. But you must know that if you choose to regularly apply these tools and techniques, you will one day feel an enormous love and power moving through you that defies description in words. I understand this to be our natural state, a natural way of being that, with clutter aside, carries us into a place of wholeness, creative power and strength that we once relegated to the gods. Personally, I can't imagine anyone not wanting this in their life. Still, I have found that some simply aren't ready to feel the magnitude and magnificence of their natural being. The too good to be true cynicism still stands guard over the basement door, perhaps protecting more vulnerable feelings of betrayal that remain unacknowledged. But this sudden departure into analysis is too much for me. Best to stick with what I know best, my own feelings. So even though I had reached a place of regular feeling maintenance, if you will, I continued checking at the basement door for any hidden feelings that may have been loosened by the ongoing rumblings of life. Occasionally a few would appear, and they too would be ushered up into the light of day, but nothing quite prepared me for what seemed to be the next phase of this exploration in self-consciousness. Sitting on the couch one day after voicing the few feelings that came, I was enjoying that blissful, peaceful state of clarity when suddenly I heard and felt a voice. Now I say heard felt because that's truly what it feels like. It's a sound that seems to reverberate in every cell of your body. It said, "What do you want for your life now?" What? I was startled, but quickly melted into this huge and amazing love that was vibrating at the very core of my being. "What do you want?" it asked again. I can have what I want, I said out loud. Now that's an amazing concept. I tried to think about what I wanted, and even uttered a few weak words, but clearly that didn't work so well. So I decided to feel what I wanted in my life. This was a whole new way of working with feelings. The love and energy expanded in my heart and spread throughout my entire body. It simply radiated and seemed to come in waves and pulses, all in anticipation of my direction. In a surprisingly booming voice coming through my body and my vocal cords, I clearly and confidently responded with, "I want to continue to feel this energy in every area of my life. I want my work, my friends, and my world to reflect this peace and fulfillment. I want to be fully supported in writing about this, in words and song, so that others can find this fullness as well." There was a pause, and then only what I can attempt to describe as an ecstatic culmination of the energy. This state of lucid ecstasy was almost too much for me to handle, so it stopped, and I forgot, for a little while anyway, until the next time I worked with my feelings. It happened again and again and again, so much so that with the continuing question, "What do you want?" my continuing response, and the continuing belief that this was really possible, I was actually able to begin creating the life that I wanted. And the best part of it was, I was seeing the physical evidence that it truly was occurring. It was around this time in my life that I was introduced to another human being who was also busy with the practical application of wisdom that had come through him. This is a story in and of itself, but I met mystical man Robert Shapiro over the phone about 2 years ago. Shortly after our initial conversation, Robert shared the details of this amazing tool for living, a tool that he and others had been successfully applying in their own lives with equally astounding results. Needless to say, benevolent magic and living prayers have blended quite smoothly into my talking it out approach, and I must say this marvelous recipe has produced unprecedented results. Now, whenever I find myself in that powerful state of pure feeling energy, I place the clarity of what I wish to create in the form of a benevolent magic prayer or a living prayer, depending on the circumstances. I, as well as others who know me, have been witness to the benevolent and magical results that have occurred and continue to occur in my life. I am a benevolent creator in training, completely supported now to write, speak, sing, and share my discoveries with others. Thank you for your ongoing and wonderful contributions to my life, Robert. This is how we change the world, isn't it? One basement at a time. Eileen Meyer is an inspired speaker, channel, and singer-songwriter. She is currently developing a blog and podcast to share her practical wisdom through words and music, as well as booking a U.S. tour. To explore her past musical work, go to www.eileen.com.